She tears you down, darling. Says you're nothing at all.
Goddamn, Sam.
But I pick you up, darling. When she left you fall.
Life is crazy, man.
Life is so crazy. Life
Streets ain't the streets no more.
and you don't even know it.
Hey.
Peace, family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I'm the owner of Astrologiks, and I am your astrology coach. Today, I will be continuing my 2025 astrological videos with Saturn conjunct Neptune and Aries. And so this conjunction happens every 37 years. Saturn and Neptune come together 3 times in that time period. The conjunction will happen twice in 2025, but the actual conjunction happens in 2026 and will last until 2028. Saturn can represent our role models, guilt, reality, regulations. It can be a very, very karmic energy. But the way Saturn kind of lines up is things have to align with fate in order to obey, comply, and accept. It really shows us that our reality or life is about what works and what's not always in our control. And it shows us that our actions have consequences, Aries. And so we're oscillating between the things that we don't have control over and the things that we can control, like the Serenity prayer. If you've been following me for a while, I'll often talk about Neptune, Pisces being my AA placement. You know, it's the place where you admit the things and tell stories about the things that you've been through, you know? Um, and and so you have things that you can't control, like the fact that the sun rises and falls every day. That, you know, um, like being born. Some might argue that fact, to be quite frank, but um, the way that, you know, your life was as a child, you don't really have any control over that because you're a child. It's out of your control, and there's not much you can do about that. Um, um, you have to follow the law, like stopping at a red light, going on a green light. Um, and then you have the things that you can control by the choices that you make. Like if I eat too much, I'll get sick. If I hurt someone or steal something, you know, there'll be consequences to that. And so Saturn kind of helps us see our sins. And then we might ask, you know, well, what is a sin? You know, and who decides what a sin is? And that's where Neptune kind of comes into play. Neptune represents what the ego has to align with. This could also be where we come from. Um, before we come here to the 3D. And so Neptune is the 5D and Saturn is the 3D. And so we're really kind of in between both with this transit. And so Neptune is the representation of the pregnancy, while you're in the belly. You don't have control over that. You're in the belly. Your mom is in control, right? So whatever she eats, you eat. Whatever she goes through, you go through. And you're experiencing life from her perspective, her belly, in her waters, if you will. Um, that's considered a Neptunian expression. And then you come here to the 3D and she has to raise you. She feeds you, she washes you, she whatever, nurtures you and takes care of you. And this can show, Saturn can show where the decisions that your mom makes while she is pregnant with you, how that affects the way you're born into this world. And unfortunately, Saturn is probably one of the toughest placements in um, the zodiac. And so typically it could show where there might have been some distress, while she was pregnant, that might have caused you some distress being born into this world. And then you're born into an environment that's stressful. Maybe there's a lot of arguing. Maybe she's, not a good mom and she's, not really nurturing you or taking care of you, or perhaps you feel like, you don't have a role model or proper guidance. You feel lost and you really don't have any boundaries, right? And this could lead to, you know, um, you making decisions that can get you into trouble, and you end up in jail or a mental prison, or suffering from some kind of lack, um, or tools, or um, even moral and ethical ways of being. Um, and so we can see a lot of these things playing out with this transit, where we're kind of questioning or reminiscing or reflecting on our past and things that we've gone through that led us to make really bad decisions and ended us into some kind of trauma, turmoil, um, again, prison, or some kind of consequence, karmically, where it has to be repaid. You did something to somebody, now somebody's going to do something back to you eventually. It'll catch up to you, you know? I don't know why when I was, I mean, I always have a lot of thoughts about this, but it really made me think of, I don't remember what Iron Man that was when they was fighting over the oil rig, and he had did something to somebody. Damn, I wish I could really remember that Iron Man. I think it was maybe Iron Man 3. Um, Damn it. The stories, it doesn't help if I can't say the story correctly, but essentially in that particular Iron Man, he was reflecting on his house had got blown up, and it was from something that he did to somebody in his past, where he kind of treated somebody like they were shit, by dismissing them. And then he made it even worse by telling them he was actually going to meet the dude on the roof, and he never came. And that guy was like sitting there that whole time. And that's when he came up with this evil master plan to come back and get him in some way. And this is what I feel like most of us will be kind of experiencing during this time, is like dealing with past decisions that we've made, how we've hurt somebody, and how that's going to come back to affect us in some way. And it doesn't have to be to the detriment of like violence or even that you end up in prison or anything of that nature. Um, it could be simple things that you go through as a parent raising a child. You know, they remember something that you did or said or told them or didn't say or tell them for that matter. And they come to you, they're older now, they've had some time to live and experience things. And they come back and say, I remember when you told me to do ba 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 ba. And now I'm going through ba 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 ba. You know, it could be stuff like that. Um, you know, it could be a job that you walked out of and now you don't have a job and you could just be sitting back thinking about, damn, um, regretting that, feeling bad about it or feeling guilty about it. Um, it doesn't even have to be that your child is telling you this. You could just be thinking about all the things that you could have done as a parent, and ways that you could have done better. Um, um, and so many people who have been following me for a long time, I've talked about my journey going to prison and how that kind of led me to go do the shadow work, right? And, um, you know, and then have a kind of spiritual awakening, finding some kind of spiritual guidance. Going to church. People might go back to church or find salvation, or the path of redemption and become born again. And now you have some kind of clarity or direction or purpose, even. You can feel like you hear the signs, symbols, and synchronicities, Neptune, when you have more clarity, when you know who you are, Aries. Um, when you're not afraid of your past, when you confront your past and you kind of clear clutter or noise, even. It could be very, very, very loud in your head. You could do a lot of talking to yourself, a lot of mentally beating yourself up about things that you just could have done better. And uh, this really, 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 really reminded me of right now, the astrology for right now. So we've had Mars in Cancer, and now Mars is in Leo. And we'll have that transit all the way through to March or April of next year, which is when Neptune enters into Aries. And then on top of that, we also have Mars and Pluto um, oppositions. Um, Mars in Cancer was opposite Pluto in Capricorn. And now Mars is going to be opposite Pluto and Aquarius, and that's going to happen twice. Once in retrograde, once in retrograde and once direct. And so, um, and then this is all happening in Scorpio season. And Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio season. Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio. And Scorpio is all about doing shadow work, you know. Um, and this just really had me thinking about how we're already in this energy of having these kind of deeper, internal, intense conversations about ourselves, clearing out emotional clutter. Leo is your self-expression and your creativity. Again, children, parenting coming up very, very heavy in these transits, your dating life, who you choose to have children with. Um, you know, this could be about having to learn how to um, parent and being in separate relationships with people. um, yeah, co-parenting, um, and um, even your social life and the decisions you make around that. Um, a lot of these things are already coming up for review with the retrograde, going over them, thinking deeply and internally about them. I've had like a few different readings that I've done and just in my own life and with my family, things that have happened, like people are really, 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 really going through it, right? This could be a lot of crying, um, just a lot of emotional outbursts and anger and upset. And yeah, people trying to come back and get you for doing things to them that they thought, they were where they thought they were done wrong. Or again, it doesn't have to be negative, but it could also just be, you know, um, that you didn't know any better. Um, you know, um, you were doing what you thought was right at the time, and people are coming back to express that and have those deeper conversations to get clarity on that. Um, and that's going to pretty much be the journey for this for pretty much the first few years of this, um, at least the next 2 years. But it really had me, and just thinking about what's going on in the world too. It's not just personal. Like you can even see this being played out on the world stage. It kind of had me thinking of Freddie, Nightmare on Elm Street, um, where I don't remember which one that one was either, but it was the Freddie the Nightmare on Elm Street where they showed the victims kind of like trying to come out of him at the end. Don't laugh at me, guys. Okay, this is the stuff that I be thinking about. I just kept getting this image of the cries, the soul cries from the underworld, but I was seeing it from the movie Nightmare on Elm Street when all the people had their hands inside. They were inside of him, but they was trying to like reach out. The cries for help, the cries for like, I'm done, like I'm over this. I'm tired of feeling this. I'm tired of carrying this weight. I don't want to be this person anymore. Um, I want to deal with this. I want to release it. I want to let it go. Um, you might want other people to let go of things that you've done to them, even though you might have tried to apologize and make up for it, or you've even become a better person over that time. You're not even the same person anymore. And people might still be treating you like you're still that person. You just like I'm getting this like massive, massive, massive feeling of people just like I don't want to be in that energy anymore. I don't want to be associated with it anymore. How do I either get more help to get out of it? How do I change it? Or again, for the people who already have, they're going to be cutting people off. Like I just don't associate with it. I've apologized. I don't know what more I can do. And it was really, really giving me that God grant me the serenity to change the things that I can, accept the things that I can't. And yeah, I don't remember the whole one either, but that's what I was getting with this. And then on top of that, we have Jupiter opposite Mercury in mutual reception. So Mercury's in Sagittarius, Mercury is in Sagittarius, Jupiter's in Gemini. Gemini is the Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and Jupiter is the ruler of Sagittarius. So that's mutual reception. I should have put my chart up so I can show you what I'm saying, but they're in opposition, but they're in mutual reception, meaning even though they're not seeing eye to eye, that they are both in each other's signs, planets. And so, again, this is about conversations that we're having with ourselves deeply internally. What's moral? What's ethical? What's right? What's wrong? What's good? What's bad? It's the angel and the devil on the shoulder. Who's whispering? What voice are you listening to? What choices are you going to make? What choices have you made? Because Mercury's going to go retrograde. We're in this energy now and have been for at least a week, and we'll be there until the end of December. And so we're having these very deep internal um, conversations about good and bad, right and wrong, um, learning to accept it, even being frustrated with the fact that people are going to tell you when you're going through something, you just got to change and accept it, or um, suck it up essentially, that's life, that's the process, that's how it is. And people might be really fucking pissed about that. Like, yeah, I know, I've accepted the fact that I've done it. That's why I'm having this conversation with you. But to hear somebody tell you, you just got to get past it. You just got to, um, things heal in time. It takes time to really burn people up right now. They really need a hug. They really might need some support or just silence to just talk it through, right? And so this could be really getting counseling, therapy, a mentor, or going to see a priest. I don't know if people still do that. Um, and asking for forgiveness. Um, a lot of these kinds of themes are going to be playing out really from now until March. Um, and so there's a lot of change and transformation, a lot of um, um, wanting to separate and let things go, a lot of frustration and anger about it. I'm hearing like really loud, 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 loud cries of people just being fucking tired and fed up with the fact that their life is the way that it is. Um, but even in the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, I don't know if anybody's watched the whole series. That series was about um, those cries, those people that he had tormented. What happened was they were picking on him, and I'm pretty sure they burnt him. They set him on fire, and he ended up burning to death. That's why he was always looking like he was burnt. And he came back from the dead to haunt them in their dreams. If this is not a Neptune Piscean energy, I don't know what is. It's kind of, dealing with some demons that from things that you've done to people that you were wrong, you did something that you shouldn't have done, and you could be feeling haunted by those things. Um, but you don't want to anymore. You're done. Like you're ready to let it go and release it and ask for forgiveness. And so I've been doing like a lot of talks about Lucifer becoming the morning star, and what that, the underworld is where we repeat bad habits and patterns and behaviors over and over again. That's what the underworld, that's what Pluto, that's what hell is all about. Metaphorically, it is a place where we do things over and over and over again, expecting a different response. And it kind of made me think about a passage that's in the Quran when Lucifer goes to have a conversation with God, that he knows it's his judgment. He knows it's his time to repent for what he has done to people. But in this conversation, Lucifer asks God to delay his punishment until they are raised. I'm going to say that again. Lucifer asked God, he said, I know I've done wrong. I know I have to pay for what I've done, but I'm asking if you can delay my punishment until they are raised. And God responded, and you will surely pay along with them. And to me, when I think about that passage, it's letting it's letting me know that we have to wake up to our power within ourselves. We have to take responsibility and control over the decisions that we make. Again, we have to learn how to align with the higher power, the 5D, and make better choices. Learn what find your spiritual guidance. Um, Listen to the signs, symbols, and synchronicities. Live in clarity and make better decisions. Use discernment. Um, Find your purpose and making sure that you are doing your what you were meant to do in this world that keeps you in alignment, um, that allows you to see things clearly, to listen to your higher voice, to go within when you need to go within, and not be afraid or embarrassed or ashamed about the things from your past, the things that you didn't have control over. Forgive your childhood self for the things that you've done. Accept the fact that you've recognized it, you've changed, you've did the work, you've healed, um, and you did your best to um, apologize and make up for whatever it is that you have done. And that's deep. And I think it's a real hard lesson for people to accept. And I think we're going to see a lot of that. Like people might feel like, no, that's not good enough with that Mercury opposed Jupiter energy. They deserve to be punished. They deserve, whatever. And that could be that Neptune victim mentality speaking louder than from your heart, Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo is like you got to make peace with the the darkness that people have within inside of them because it could easily be you, you know. Um, there's way more bad in this world than there is good, and it's a lot more easier to make fucked up decisions because a lot of people just don't know how to heal. It's not like it's sitting at every corner the way drugs and alcohol are, it's just, after a while I say that and I feel like I'm making up excuses, but that's just life, and that's what this transit is real. This shit's gonna be tough. I like the fact that we're really going through it right now. Perhaps when we get later down the line, it'll be a lot softer, but we are going to have two more oppositions of Mars and Leo and um, Pluto and Aquarius. These transits are not easy. We've had the last Mars and Cancer opposite Pluto and Capricorn. We're not going to have Pluto and Capricorn for another 340 years. So, there is something that I think at this point we've all accepted that we're just done. We're just done with it. We don't want to deal with it anymore. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to see it. We're ready to heal, you know. But then there's other shit that comes up, it was always going to be something good going on. And then, you have the bullshit going on. Two things can be true at the same time. And the truth is life is just really fucking hard. And you got to find peace in that. Find your spiritual peace. Where do you go to meditate or find, you know, solace, or where you go to speak to your guides or have private conversations with God, or just a peace of mind, to rest, to sleep, to dream. Um, where do you go? What do you do to ease the pain? AA people go to AA meetings, right? To keep them in track, to keep them in alignment, to stay on top of things, to live in the light of goodness. And you have to work at that, you know. Um, Saturn is like you're gonna have to put in the work and every day, you know, and it's not easy. But we're not talking about being perfect though. So, even when you do trip up or mess up or, you get those dark, um, you know, memories and you start overthinking it and you sitting with it, just accept it, you know, um, let it be what it is, you know, um, learn until you learn to love it and heal it and nurture it. And maybe this could be giving back and doing other things for other people, doing for your parents what you feel like maybe you didn't get. You make up for it in all different kinds of ways. It's going to be different for everybody, but that's just the process. And I don't know, I like it though. I really think this is going to challenge people to stay more um, on the path of being spiritually healed and stepping into your power in some way. And so, from a um, global perspective, I did like the last 10 years that we've had this transit so we can see globally what other things could be going on. And so 1809, we had Saturn and Neptune in Sagittarius. And this was when Lincoln was born, right? And so Sagittarius is racism, especially when it's with Saturn. And we know Lincoln was the catalyst for the change of racism. And 1846, Saturn and Neptune was in Aquarius. And this was when Neptune was discovered. And Aquarius is the sky god, right? And so you could see the symbolism there. And I can only imagine with Pluto being in Aquarius, there's going to be a lot more discoveries around what's going on up in the sky and innovative ways of doing things for sure. And then 1882, it was in Taurus, and there were a lot of political changes. One was the Chinese Exclusion Act, which was the first attempt to eliminate immigrants. And so we can already see the immigration thing going bonkers. And I think I mentioned in the last video or one of those videos that in one sense for America, it's a good thing because it's going to force us again to become more independent. And I think we need that here. We depend on a lot of other countries to do stuff for us, which is, on the other hand, why this can be a real problem. And I think it could be a lot more problematic than not, leading to some kind of civil war. Because if you want to get like real serious, if these other countries are providing us with products and making products for us so that we can live, they deserve to be here, you know? And I think that's going to cause a problem with other countries, things with ports, borders, and shipping. Um, yeah, I see this potentially growing into a really, really, really big problem. And then England occupied Egypt, and there was a fight to have access to the Mediterranean and Indian Ocean. And so you can see Taurus is about possession of land and um, yeah, um, and people. Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So 1917 we had this conjunction in Leo, and this was the end of Russian monarchy, which was the Soviet Union. So we see the rise and fall of systems here. And then in 1952, we had this conjunction in Libra, and Queen Elizabeth ascended to the throne after the death of her father, or due to the death of her father. And so a new era of leadership, which I feel like we're definitely already seeing that. And then Egypt was actually liberated from England at this time. And then they had the development of the polio vaccine. So we can definitely probably hear a whole lot more about COVID, and maybe even some other new variant and or some other you know, COVID-like situation. Um, and then in 1989, we had this conjunction in Capricorn, which was the collapse of the Berlin Wall. And um, this was actually also the fall of Soviet Union, which led to the rise of America and capitalism. And so this is going to be a pretty big deal. Um, America's definitely going to go through some massive, massive, massive changes. Also, this was the rise of internet and how we communicated. Nelson Mandela was released from prison, so we can see a lot of blockages removed from our life for sure. But also just a lot of changes. And so the last time this was actually in Aries, I did 3 different times. Um, I gathered information for 3 different times. Aries, this conjunction was in Aries. And every single time this conjunction was in Aries, Uranus was also in Gemini. And Uranus will be in Gemini this time too. And so when I say America's going through some massive, massive changes, America's going through some massive, massive changes. And so the last few um, conjunctions were in cardinal signs at 0 degrees, meaning that there is something very brand new coming. But yeah, so the last time this was in Aries was the start of the Civil War and the birth of America. Um, England and Spain had war, which was the birth of Great Britain. We had voting rights for males, the end of slavery, the birth of dynamites and guns. So we're definitely going to see Civil War, I think is going to be a thing. And gun rights and laws is going to be a thing. There was also the unification of Germany and Italy. So we can definitely see 2 things coming together. That's what a conjunction is. So Neptune and Saturn are going to be close in the sky like this. This is what makes a conjunction in the chart. And so I definitely think that we can see like Texas and whatever the hell is around Texas becoming one, like 2 cities, 2 countries. It even could be Canada, because Canada was founded during an Aries conjunction. I doubt that happening, but just to give you an example, you know, like Puerto Rico, right? Puerto Rico was Puerto Rico, and now Puerto Rico is a part of America, right? It could be something like that. Um, the Red Cross was founded. I found that interesting because we've had a few storms, and the last one we had, the Red Cross said that they didn't have any funding because they had given it all to the immigrants. and they were unable to help people. And so I'm wondering if Red Cross is done, or it changes its name or something like that. Um, and then the Yellowstone Park opened. African Americans gained the right to vote. Something huge always happens with the Vatican, and so maybe the Vatican's going through a death or assassination attempt, or they could be making some changes with the Bible, or the Pope, you know. This could be the death or assassination attempt of the Pope. Um, and again, the rise of pandemics, but this time there'll be a cure. So, yeah, that's what I got. I actually really like this, despite the things that I think can come out of this can be pretty catastrophic, life-changing, and traumatic in the process to get there, just like a birth, when a child is born, that pain is excruciating, you know. And so I think we're going to see pain, but the outcome is redemption, it's freedom, it's independence. Um, it's knowing who you are and not being ashamed of it. And that's worth, however this ends up turning out. I think it's a necessary process. So, as usual, family, I love and appreciate you. I hope you found this information helpful. Peace.